So if you've been on the internet at all recently, you've probably seen it. These headlines screaming that volcanoes are erupting all at once, all across the globe. You see Italy, Iceland, Japan, and it really feels like our planet is waking up and getting angry. But is that what's really happening? Today, we're going to peel back the layers of this story. And trust me, what we find is way more interesting than the online panic. It all really kicked off with posts just like this one. They went completely viral. You see a map lighting up with all these eruption points, and you can't help but wonder, wait, is this normal? Is something big, maybe something unprecedented, happening to our planet? And that really is the question at the heart of all this, isn't it? Are we watching our planet's geology just go into complete overdrive? Is this some dangerous new phase of global unrest? Well, let's break it down. Okay, first things first. Let's tackle this volcanic panic head on. So here's the first thing you need to know, and it comes straight from the experts, the people who track this stuff for a living at the Global Volcanism Program. They say there's absolutely no evidence that volcanic activity is actually increasing. So what's going on? Well, it turns out it's not about what the volcanoes are doing, it's about what we're doing. So you've got these two totally competing stories. On one side, you have the social media version, a sudden, terrifying spike in eruptions. And on the other, you have the scientific reality, a totally normal, steady level of activity that we're getting way better at noticing and sharing. And this slide really gets to the heart of why we notice them more. First, our detection technology it's incredible. We can see and measure things we never could before. Second, more and more people are living in areas that have historically been volcanic. And let's be honest, eruptions are insanely photogenic. They make for stunning, super shareable videos. And of course, when one of them disrupts air travel or forces people to evacuate, it instantly becomes major global news. And if you need one single number to put this all into perspective, here it is, 46. According to the Smithsonian, on any given day, there are about 46 volcanoes around the world in what they call a continuing eruption status. This isn't some new crazy spike. This is just Tuesday for planet Earth. But, and this is a really, really important but, just because the global trend isn't alarming, that does not mean the local threats aren't very, very real. In fact, the global panic is a distraction from where the actual danger is brewing. So, let's shift our focus. Let's zoom in from the global non-issue to a very real, very dangerous local story that's unfolding right now. I want you to meet Campi Flegrei. In English, that means the fiery fields. Now, this isn't your typical pointy, cone-shaped volcano. Nope. This is a sprawling, 8-mile-wide crater, a true supervolcano that ancient civilizations thought was the entrance to the underworld. And right now, it is stirring. And here's what's at stake. More than 500,000 people live their lives directly on top of this active supervolcano, inside what the government calls the red zone. If a major eruption were to happen, every single one of them would need to get out. The most immediate concern right now comes from this really weird phenomenon called bradyseismum. The simplest way to think about it is this. As the giant magma chamber deep underground fills or empties, the ground itself rises and falls. The entire region is, quite literally, breathing. And the proof of this breathing is it's stunning, and it's everywhere. Since just 2005, the ground has swelled upwards by 4.6 feet. You can see it with your own eyes. Boats at the old port are now sitting high and dry, marooned in fields of grass. You can even see it on ancient Roman columns that have sea fossils halfway up their length, which is just mind-blowing proof that this land has been rising and falling for centuries. And that breathing is getting more and more agitated. The earthquakes are getting stronger and more frequent. I mean, we're talking thousands in a single month. It's gotten to the point where recent quakes are now cracking walls and sending panicked residents fleeing into the streets. You better believe scientists are watching this escalation very, very closely. So let's recap. We've gone from a global panic that wasn't real to a local threat that is terrifyingly real. But what if I told you there's an even bigger story about volcanoes, one that affects every single person on this planet, and it's almost completely overlooked? This final piece of the puzzle, this is the biggest one of all, and it's been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Take a close look at this graph. It's from a pretty important paper in Geophysical Research Letters. On the left, you see our planet's temperature history, and it's all jagged and full of dips. You know what many of those sharp drops were? Major volcanic eruptions. Now, look to the right. at the future projections. See how smooth that red warming line is? Those sudden, dramatic cooling events, they're gone. They're just not there.
And this isn't an accident. The scientists who wrote the paper stated plainly, our standard climate models, the very ones we rely on to plan for our future, basically ignore the potential for major volcanic eruptions. They are modeling a future without the planet's single biggest geological wildcard.
This creates a situation that scientists call an irreducible uncertainty. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying there is a fundamental, massive unpredictability at the very heart of our climate future that we simply cannot model away. We know for a fact a massive climate-altering eruption will happen again. We just have absolutely no idea when. And this chart just puts the incredible scale of that wildcard into perspective. Back in 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora cooled the planet by a full degree Celsius. It caused what became known as the year without a summer. A similar event today would dramatically, if temporarily, slam the brakes on the warming trend we're on. The impact of the next great eruption isn't a small detail. It is a giant question mark hanging over everything. So, after all of that, where does this leave us? That social media panic about volcanoes? It was a phantom. But it pointed us toward a much deeper, much more important truth. The real story isn't that there are more eruptions. It's that we've collectively forgotten how unbelievably powerful just one can be. And it leaves us with a final crucial question. As we rightly focus all of our energy on planning for the warming that we can predict, have we spent any time at all preparing for the volcanic wildcard that could change everything in an instant?